Lyra stood in the cold, white room and waited for the doctor to speak. The walls were smooth and empty. The light above her head made a soft humming sound. She had been waiting for 3 days to hear the results of her tests. Now the doctor was looking at his screen and saying nothing. She already knew something was wrong. She could feel it in the way the nurses had looked at her. She could hear it in the silence that filled the room whenever she walked past. Her people, the Villani, were not good at hiding their feelings. Their pale blue skin would change color when they felt strong emotions. The nurses had turned a dark shade of purple whenever they saw her. Purple meant pity. Purple meant shame. The doctor finally turned to face her. His name was Keth, and he had known her family for many years. He had been there when she was born. He had watched her grow up. Now he looked at her like she was already dead. "Lyra," he said slowly, "the results are clear. There is no mistake." She did not move. She did not breathe. "You are sterile," he continued. "Your body cannot produce children. It will never be able to produce children. I am sorry." The words hit her like cold water. She had suspected this. She had feared this. But hearing it spoken out loud made it real, made it final. Among the Villani, children were everything. A person's worth was measured by the family they created. A female who could not bear children was considered broken, incomplete, useless. There was no place in society for someone like her. "Are you certain?" she asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I ran the tests 5 times, Keth said. I wished for a different answer, but the truth does not change because we wish it to." Lyra nodded slowly. She thanked the doctor and walked out of the room. Her legs felt strange, like they belonged to someone else. The hallway seemed longer than before. The lights seemed dimmer. Everything around her felt distant and unreal. When she got home, her mother was waiting. The older woman took one look at Lyra's face and understood immediately. Her skin turned a deep, ugly shade of purple. "No," her mother said, "this cannot be true." "It is true," Lyra replied. Her mother sat down heavily. She covered her face with her hands. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then her mother looked up and Lyra saw something terrible in her eyes. It was not just sadness. It was fear. "What will we tell people?" her mother asked. "What will we tell Torin?" Torin, her betrothed. They had been promised to each other since childhood. Their families had made agreements. Plans had been set. Everyone expected them to bond and create many children together. Everyone expected their union to bring honor to both families. Now there would be no children, no honor, only shame. The news spread quickly. Among the Villani there were no secrets. Within days, everyone in the city knew about Lyra's condition. People stopped talking when she walked by. Old friends crossed the street to avoid her. Shopkeepers refused to look at her face. Torin came to see her one evening. He stood in her family's doorway and did not step inside. His skin was pale with disgust. "I have spoken with the elders," he said. His voice was flat and cold. "Our bonding contract is dissolved. You understand why this must be." Lyra understood. She had known this was coming, but the words still cut her like knives. "I am sorry," she said, though she did not know why she was apologizing. "Do not contact me again," Torin said. "Do not contact my family. It would be better for everyone if you simply disappeared." He left without saying goodbye. Lyra stood in the doorway and watched him walk away. She had known him her entire life. They had played together as children. She had thought she loved him. Now she realized he had never seen her as a person. He had only seen her as a means to produce offspring. Without that ability, she was nothing to him. The weeks that followed were the hardest of her life. Her father refused to speak to her. Her mother cried constantly. Her younger sister was forbidden from spending time with her, as if her condition was somehow contagious. Lyra spent most of her time in her room, staring at the ceiling. She thought about her future and saw only emptiness. On her world, there was no path forward for someone like her. She could not find a partner. She could not start a family. She could not even find meaningful work because employers did not want to hire someone who brought shame upon them. One night she found herself looking at the stars through her window. Somewhere out there, beyond the clouds and the darkness, there were other worlds, other species, other ways of living. She had heard stories about the Galactic Union, a collection of different civilizations that traded and cooperated across the stars. She had heard about a trading station called Horizon Gate, where beings from many worlds lived and worked together. Perhaps, she thought, things would be different there. Perhaps among strangers she could find a new beginning. Perhaps where no one knew her, she could finally be free from the weight of her shame. The next morning she applied for an off-world transfer. She requested a position at Horizon Gate. She did not tell her family. She did not ask for their blessing. She simply filled out the forms and waited. 3 weeks later, her application was approved. She was assigned to work in the station's administrative archives. The job was quiet and boring, exactly what she wanted. She packed her few belongings and left her homeworld without looking back. Her mother did not come to say goodbye. Her father pretended she had already left. Only her younger sister stood at the transport platform, tears running down her face. "I will miss you," the little girl said. Lyra hugged her tightly. "I will miss you too, but this is something I must do." The transport ship carried her away from everything she had ever known. She watched through the window as her planet grew smaller and smaller. The blue and green sphere that had been her entire world became just another dot among millions of stars. When she arrived at Horizon Gate, the station was loud and crowded and overwhelming. Beings of every shape and color moved through the corridors. Strange sounds and smells filled the air. Lyra felt small and lost and completely alone. She found her way to the archives, a quiet corner of the station where few people ever came. She set up her workstation and began sorting through old files and records. The work was dull, but she did not mind. Dull was better than painful. Boring was better than shameful. She ate her meals at odd hours to avoid the crowded mess hall. She walked close to the walls, trying not to be noticed. She spoke to no one unless absolutely necessary. For the first time in her life she was invisible, and for a while that felt like enough. She noticed the humans on her third day at the station. They were strange creatures, soft and fragile-looking. They came in different colors, from pale pink to deep brown. They made loud noises and moved their hands a lot when they talked. They seemed to feel emotions very strongly and did not try to hide them. Lyra watched them from a distance, curious but cautious. She had read about humans in the archives. They were a young species, relatively new to the galactic community. Many older civilizations considered them primitive and emotional, but they had spread quickly across the stars, building colonies and making alliances with remarkable speed. She wondered what it must be like to be human, to come from a world where not everything was determined by biology and tradition, to be free from the rigid expectations that had crushed her entire life. But these were foolish thoughts. She was not human. She was Vellani, and no matter how far she ran, she could never escape what she was. Or so she believed. Park Yiwoo had been on Horizon Gate for almost 2 years. He worked as an engineer, fixing broken machines and keeping the station running smoothly. It was good work, honest work, the kind of work that let him sleep well at night. He was not like other humans on the station. Most of them were loud and always looking for excitement. They went to parties and made friends quickly. Yi was different. He was quiet. He liked to watch and listen more than talk. Some people thought he was shy. Others thought he was cold. Neither was true. He simply believed that words should mean something. He did not like to waste them. One morning, his supervisor called him to the administrative archives. There had been a power problem during the night. Several computer terminals had been damaged. Someone needed to fix them. Yi grabbed his tools and made his way to the archives. It was a part of the station he rarely visited. Most people avoided it because there was nothing interesting there, just old records and forgotten files. When he entered the archives, he expected to find the room empty. Instead, he saw a Vellani female sitting at a desk in the corner. She was working on something, her eyes focused on the screen in front of her. She did not look up when he came in. Yi had seen Vellani before. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. This one had long silver hair that fell past her shoulders. She wore simple clothes, nothing fancy or decorative. Everything about her seemed designed to avoid attention. He walked to the damaged terminals and began his work. The problem was not serious. A circuit had burned out during the power spike. It took him about an hour to replace the damaged parts and restore the systems. As he worked, he glanced at the Vellani female from time to time. She never moved from her desk. She never spoke to anyone. She worked alone in complete silence, as if she was the only person in the universe. When he finished, Yi did something he did not usually do. He walked over to her desk. "Hello," he said. "I am Yi. I fixed your terminals." The female looked up at him. Her eyes were a deep purple color, almost black. There was surprise in them, as if she had not expected anyone to speak to her. "Thank you," she said quietly. Her voice was soft and careful. "What is your name?" Yi asked. "Lyra." "It is nice to meet you, Lyra." She did not respond. She just looked at him with those large, dark eyes. Yi got the feeling that she was waiting for him to leave, waiting for him to lose interest and walk away like everyone else probably did. But Yi did not leave. He sat down on a nearby chair. "This is a quiet place," he said. "I can see why you like it here." "You can see that?" she asked. "Yes, some people need quiet. I'm the same way." For the first time, something changed in Lyra's expression. It was small, just a tiny softening around her eyes, but Yi noticed it. "Most people find quiet uncomfortable," she said. "Most people are afraid of their own thoughts," Yi replied. "I am not." Lyra studied him for a long moment. She seemed to be trying to understand something about him. Then she turned back to her work. "Thank you for fixing the terminals," she said. It was a dismissal, but a polite one. Yi stood up and left, but he thought about her for the rest of the day. The next morning, he came back to the archives. He told himself it was to check on the repairs, but he knew that was not the real reason. Lyra was at her desk again, exactly where he had left her. She looked up when he entered, and this time there was less surprise in her eyes. Perhaps she had been expecting him. Yi walked to her desk and set down a small container. "This is tea," he said. "It is a drink from my home planet. Humans share food and drink with people they want to know better. I would like to know you better." Lyra looked at the container like it was a strange and dangerous object. "Why?" she asked. "Because you seem interesting," Yi said, "and because you seem lonely." For a moment she said nothing. Then she picked up the container and opened it carefully. Steam rose from the dark liquid inside. She took a small sip. "It is bitter," she said. "Yes, that is why some people add sugar, but I like it bitter. It wakes me up." "I think I like it too," Lyra said. She took another sip. Yi smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. He sat down across from her. "Tell me about yourself," he said. "There is not much to tell." "There is always much to tell. Everyone has a story." Lyra was silent for a long moment. Then slowly she began to talk. She told him about her homeworld. She told him about the archives, about the files she organized and the records she maintained. She did not tell him about her condition. She did not tell him why she had left home. But she told him other things, small things, safe things. And Yi listened. He listened without interrupting. He listened without judging. He listened like every word she said was important. When she finished, she asked him about himself. He told her about Earth, the human homeworld. He told her about the country where he was born, a place called Korea. He told her about his grandmother, who had raised him on a farm in the countryside after his parents died in an accident when he was young. "Your grandmother raised you alone," Lyra asked. Yes, she was already old when I was born. Everyone said she could not do it, but she did. She is the strongest person I have ever known. She sounds wonderful. She is, I miss her very much. They talked for almost 2 hours. When Yi finally left, he promised to come back the next day, and he did, and the day after that, and the day after that. Soon, his visits to the archives became a daily habit. He would bring tea or small snacks from the human section of the station. They would sit together and talk about everything and nothing. He told her about his work, about the machines he fixed and the problems he solved. She told him about the old records she found, about the history hidden in forgotten files. For the first time since arriving at Horizon Gate, Lyra found herself looking forward to something. She found herself waiting for the sound of his footsteps in the hallway. She found herself saving interesting stories from the archives so she could share them with him. She did not understand why he kept coming back. She did not understand why he wanted to spend time with her when there were so many other people on the station. She was nobody. She was broken. She had nothing to offer. But Yi did not seem to care. He came every day, and every day he made her feel a little less alone. One afternoon, he brought her a small plant in a pot. It had green leaves and tiny white flowers. "This is from the station garden," he said. "Humans believe that taking care of a living thing brings happiness. I want you to have this." Lyra took the plant carefully. She held it like it was the most precious thing in the world. "I have never received a gift before," she said quietly. "Never. Among my people, gifts are only given between family members, and only on important occasions. Well, humans give gifts all the time. We give them when we are happy. We give them when we are sad. We give them just because we can. This is me giving you a gift just because I can." Lyra looked at the plant, then at Yi. Something warm filled her chest. It was a feeling she did not recognize, a feeling she had not experienced in a very long time. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was thick with emotion. "Thank you, Yi." He smiled at her. It was a kind smile, full of warmth and understanding. "You are welcome, Lyra." That night, Lyra put the plant on her desk where she could see it every day. She watered it carefully and made sure it had enough light. It was a small thing, just a little plant in a little pot. But to her, it meant everything. It meant that someone in this cold, vast universe had thought about her. Someone had wanted to make her happy. Someone saw her not as a broken thing to be avoided, but as a person worth knowing. She still had not told Yi about her condition. She knew she should. She knew it was wrong to keep such a big secret from someone who had been so kind to her, but she was afraid. She was so afraid. What if he found out and stopped coming? What if he looked at her the way Torin had looked at her? What if she lost the only friend she had ever made? She told herself she would tell him soon. She told herself she would find the right moment. But the right moment never seemed to come. And so she kept her secret, and she kept her fear, and she kept hoping that maybe, just maybe, things could stay this way forever. But deep down she knew they could not. The truth always comes out in the end. The announcement came on a quiet morning. A trade delegation from the Velani homeworld would be visiting Horizon Gate. They would stay for 10 days to discuss new agreements with the Galactic Union. All station personnel were expected to assist with their visit. When Lyra heard the news, her blood turned cold. She had left her homeworld to escape her past. Now her past was coming to find her. She tried to stay calm. The delegation would be busy with meetings and negotiations. They would have no reason to visit the archives. If she was careful, if she stayed hidden, she might be able to avoid them entirely. But fate had other plans. On the third day of the visit, Lyra was eating lunch in a small cafeteria near the archives. It was a place she had chosen because it was always empty at this hour. She was alone, just as she preferred. Then the door opened, and Torin walked in. He had not changed much since she last saw him. He was still tall and proud. His skin was a healthy shade of blue. He wore fine clothes that marked him as someone important, but his eyes were the same. Cold, empty, cruel. He did not notice her at first. He was with two other Velani males, laughing at some joke one of them had made. They walked to the food dispensers and began selecting their meals. Lyra sat frozen in her chair. She wanted to run, but her legs would not move. She wanted to hide, but there was nowhere to go. All she could do was sit there and hope he would not turn around. He turned around. For a moment Torin did not recognize her. Then his eyes widened. His skin turned a dark shade of purple, disgust, anger, shame. "Lyra," he said loudly, "I did not expect to see you here." The other two males turned to look at her. She could see them studying her, trying to understand why Torin had spoken her name with such contempt. "Torin," she said quietly, "I'm assigned to this station now. Yes, I heard you ran away. I thought perhaps you had done something sensible, but here you are still existing, still taking up space." His companions laughed. They did not know the full story, but they understood that she was someone to look down upon. Among the Velani, that was enough. Lyra felt her face burn with shame. She stood up from her chair, intending to leave, but Torin stepped into her path. "You know," he said, loud enough for everyone in the cafeteria to hear, "I am amazed you can still show your face in public. On the homeworld, someone in your condition would have the decency to remove themselves from society. But I suppose that is asking too much from someone like you." Tears burned in Lyra's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She would not give him that satisfaction. "Please let me pass," she said. "Why, where are you going? Back to your lonely corner to pretend you matter." The door opened again. Lyra did not see who entered. She was too focused on trying not to cry, trying not to break apart in front of this man who had once promised to spend his life with her. "Is there a problem here?" The voice was calm and steady. Lyra knew that voice. She turned and saw Yi standing in the doorway. He was still wearing his work clothes, covered in grease and dust from the machines he had been repairing. He looked tired and dirty and completely unimpressive, but his eyes were sharp and his stance was solid. Torin looked at the human with contempt. "This is not your concern. Walk away." "It looks like my concern," Yi said. "It looks like you are bothering my friend." Friend, the word hit Lyra like a wave of warm water. He had called her his friend. "Your friend," Torin laughed. "Do you even know what she is? Do you know why she is here all alone, far from her people?" "I know she is kind," Yi said. "I know she is smart. I know she works harder than anyone else on this station. That is enough for me." Torin's expression twisted. "She is barren, sterile, she cannot produce children, she is worthless. Among our people she is less than nothing." The words hung in the air. Lyra felt herself shrinking, waiting for Yi to understand, waiting for the disgust to appear in his eyes like it had in everyone else's. But Yi did not look disgusted. He did not look angry, he just looked sad, sad for her. "I do not see how that makes her worthless," Yi said quietly. Torin stared at him. "You cannot be serious." "I am very serious. On Earth, we do not measure a person's worth by their ability to have children. We measure it by how they treat others, by their kindness, by their courage, by the size of their heart." "That is foolish." "Maybe, but it is how we live." Yi walked past Torin without fear. He stopped next to Lyra and held out his hand. "Come on," he said gently. "Let me take you somewhere quiet." Lyra looked at his hand. It was calloused and rough from years of hard work. It was human and strange and completely unlike anything she had ever known. She took it. They walked out of the cafeteria together, leaving Torin and his companions staring after them in confusion. Lyra did not look back. She kept her eyes forward, holding onto Yi's hand like it was the only thing keeping her from falling. He led her to the archives, to her desk in the corner, to the place where she felt safest. The little plant he had given her was still there, growing quietly in its pot. Yi sat down across from her. He did not speak right away. He just waited, giving her time to breathe, giving her time to find her voice. "You know now," Lyra finally said. "You know what I am." "I know what he said you are, but words are just words. They do not define you." "Among my people they do. Among my people I am broken, incomplete. I can never have a family. I can never have children. I can never be part of society in any meaningful way." "Is that what you believe?" Lyra paused. She had never been asked that question before. Everyone had always told her what to believe. No one had ever asked her what she actually thought. "I do not know what I believe anymore," she admitted. Yi leaned forward. "Can I tell you what I believe?" She nodded. "I believe that family is not just about blood. It is about who you choose. My grandmother taught me that. She adopted 3 children after she lost her own in a war. She did not give birth to them, but they were her children in every way that mattered. She loved them. She raised them. She gave them everything she had. That is family." "But among your people, you can still have children naturally," Lyra said. "You still have that choice." "Some humans cannot have children either. Some humans choose not to, and yet they still have families. They still have love. They still have lives worth living." Lyra felt tears spilling down her cheeks. She could not stop them anymore. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want you to know that your worth is not decided by your biology. You are not broken, Lyra. You are not incomplete. You are exactly who you are supposed to be." She wept then. She wept for all the years she had spent hating herself. She wept for all the people who had told her she was worthless. She wept for the life she thought she could never have. Yi did not try to stop her. He just sat with her, quiet and patient, letting her cry until there were no tears left. When she finally stopped, she looked at him with red eyes and a trembling voice. "Why are you so kind to me?" she asked. "Because you deserve kindness," he said simply. "Everyone does." She did not know what to say, so she said nothing. She just sat there, looking at this strange human who had walked into her life and changed everything. Outside the archives, the station continued its busy operations. Somewhere, Torin was probably complaining to his colleagues about the crazy human who had defended a barren female. Somewhere, the Vellani delegation was making important decisions about trade and politics. But in this quiet corner of Horizon Gate, none of that mattered. All that mattered was that, for the first time in her life, Lyra did not feel alone. And maybe, she thought, that was the beginning of something new. News traveled fast on Horizon Gate. Within 2 days, everyone on the station had heard some version of the story. A human engineer had defended a Vellani female. He had called her his friend. He had stood up to a delegation member. He had spoken against Vellani traditions. Some people found it amusing. Others found it scandalous. The humans mostly found it confusing. They did not understand why anyone would care about another person's ability to have children. But the Vellani delegation was furious. They sent a formal complaint to the station commander. They demanded that the human engineer be removed from all contact with their people. They claimed his behavior was disrespectful to Vellani culture. They called it cultural contamination. The station commander was a woman named Captain Yoon Sara. She was 50 years old, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been running Horizon Gate for 15 years, and she had seen every kind of conflict between species that was possible to see. She read the complaint carefully. Then she invited the Vellani delegation leader to her office. His name was Elder Varn. He was old and respected, with pale skin that showed his many years. He walked into her office with the confidence of someone who expected to get what he wanted. "Captain Yoon," he said, "I trust you have reviewed our complaint." "I have," she replied. "Then you understand our position. The human called Park Yi-woo must be removed from any contact with Velani citizens. His interference in our internal matters was inappropriate. Captain Yoon leaned back in her chair. What internal matters are you referring to, Elder Varn? The matter of the female called Lyra. She is a citizen of our world. Her condition is a private concern of our people. The human had no right to involve himself. As I understand it, the human witnessed one of your delegation members publicly insulting a station employee. He intervened to protect that employee. That seems entirely appropriate to me. Elder Varn's skin turned a deep shade of orange. Frustration. You do not understand our ways, Captain. Among the Velani, a female who cannot bear children is considered. I do not care what she is considered among the Velani, Captain Yoon interrupted. On this station, she is an employee. She has the same rights and protections as any other employee. If your people harass her, I will treat it as I would treat any other harassment. The elder stared at her. You would side with a barren female over a respected delegation. I would side with anyone who is being mistreated, Elder Varn. That is how humans operate. We do not judge people by their biology. We judge them by their actions. This is unacceptable. You are welcome to find it unacceptable. You are also welcome to leave the station if our policies offend you. But while you are here, you will follow our rules. And our rules say that every person on the station deserves to be treated with dignity. Elder Varn was silent for a long moment. His skin shifted through several colors as he struggled to control his emotions. Finally, he spoke. We will file a formal protest with the Galactic Union. You are welcome to do so. In the meantime, I suggest you remind your delegation members to behave professionally. Any further incidents will result in their removal from the station. The elder left without another word. Captain Yoon watched him go, then turned to look out the window at the stars beyond. Her office door opened again. This time Yi walked in. He looked nervous, like a student who had been called to see the principal. You wanted to see me, Captain? Yes, sit down. Yi sat. He waited in silence for her to speak. I heard about what happened in the cafeteria, she said. I was just trying to help, Yi replied. She did not deserve to be treated that way. I agree. The Velani delegation wants you disciplined. They say you interfered in their affairs. Yi tensed. Are you going to discipline me? Captain Yoon smiled. It was a small smile but warm. No, I am going to thank you. What you did took courage. Most people would have walked away. I could not walk away. She is my friend. I know, that is why I am not worried about you, she paused. But I am worried about her. The delegation will be watching her now. They may try to make her life difficult. What can I do? Keep being her friend. Sometimes that is the most important thing anyone can do. Yi nodded, he understood. That evening, Torin found Yi in the engineering section of the station. The Velani male stood in the doorway, blocking the exit. Human, he said, I want to speak with you. Yi put down his tools. Speak. I do not understand you. What do you want with that female? She cannot give you children. She cannot give you anything. What is the point? Yi thought about the question. He thought about Lyra, about her kindness and her intelligence and her quiet strength. He thought about the way she smiled when she found an interesting document in the archives. He thought about the way she laughed at his jokes, even the bad ones. You are wrong, he finally said. She gives me many things. She gives me friendship. She gives me conversation. She gives me a reason to look forward to each day. Those are not real things, Torin scoffed. Those are just feelings. Feelings are real to humans, maybe the most real things we have. Torin shook his head. You are fools, all of you. You waste your time and energy on things that do not matter. Maybe, but we are happy. Can you say the same? The Velani male had no answer. He stood there for a moment, looking at Yi with something that might have been confusion or might have been doubt. Then he turned and walked away. Yi went back to his work, but his mind was elsewhere. He was thinking about the future, about possibilities, about what might happen if he was brave enough to ask. The next day he found Lyra in the archives. She was watering her plant, the one he had given her months ago. It had grown bigger now, with more leaves and more flowers. "Lyra," he said, "I need to tell you something." She looked at him with concern. "What is wrong?" "Nothing is wrong, but I have been thinking about you, about us." Her skin changed color slightly. A soft pink, different from her usual pale blue. He did not know what that meant, but he hoped it was good. "I am going to apply for a transfer," he continued, "to a human colony world. It is called New Busan. It is peaceful there, far from politics, far from people who might judge you." Lyra was quiet. He could see her processing his words, trying to understand what he was saying. "I want you to come with me," Yi said. "If you want to, no pressure, no expectations. Just two friends starting a new life together." Tears formed in her eyes, but she was smiling. "You would do that for me." "I would do that for us, because I think we could build something good together, something real." Lyra set down her watering can. She walked to him and took his hands in hers. Her skin was cool and smooth, unlike any human skin, but it felt right. It felt like home. "Yes," she said, "I will go with you." Yi smiled. It was the biggest smile he had smiled in years. "Then let us go, let us find a new beginning." They submitted their transfer requests that afternoon. The paperwork was processed quickly. Within 2 weeks, they had their approvals. When they boarded the transport ship that would take them to New Busan, Lyra looked back at Horizon Gate one last time. She thought about everything that had happened there. The loneliness, the shame, the moment when a strange human had walked into her archives and offered her tea. She thought about Torin and his cruelty. She thought about Captain Yoon and her strength. She thought about all the people who had told her she was worthless, and all the people who had shown her she was not. Then she turned away and faced forward, toward the future, toward whatever came next. Beside her, Yi reached out and took her hand. He did not say anything. He did not need to. His presence said everything. The ship lifted off and carried them into the stars. Behind them, the past grew smaller and smaller until it was just a memory. Ahead of them, a new world waited, a world where anything was possible. And for the first time in her life, Lyra believed she might actually find happiness. New Busan was nothing like Horizon Gate. The station had been cold and mechanical, full of metal walls and artificial lights. New Busan was a living world, with green hills and blue oceans and a yellow sun that warmed everything it touched. When Lyra first stepped off the transport ship, she stood completely still. She had never felt real sunlight on her skin before. She had never breathed air that was not filtered through machines. She had never seen clouds floating in a real sky. Yi watched her with a gentle smile. "What do you think?" "It is beautiful," she whispered. "More beautiful than anything I have ever seen." They settled in a small town near the coast. Yi found work as an engineer in the local power plant. Lyra took a job organizing records for the colonial government. The work was similar to what she had done at Horizon Gate, but everything else was different. The people were different. They smiled at her in the streets. They invited her to meals. They asked about her homeworld and listened with genuine interest when she answered. Nobody cared that she could not have children. Nobody even asked. At first, Lyra did not trust it. She kept waiting for the kindness to stop. She kept waiting for people to discover her secret and turn away from her in disgust. But weeks passed, then months, and the kindness never stopped. "Why are humans like this?" she asked Yi one evening. They were sitting on the beach, watching the sun set over the ocean. "Why do you accept everyone so easily?" Yi thought about the question. "I think it is because we are all broken in some way. Every human has something wrong with them, some flaw, some weakness, some pain they carry inside. We learn early that judging others only leads to loneliness, so we try to accept instead. My people are not like that. We judge everything. We measure everyone. We compare and compete until there is nothing left but winners and losers. That sounds exhausting. It was, she paused. I do not miss it. Yi reached over and took her hand. It had become a habit now, a small gesture of connection that meant more than words could say. You are home now, he said. You do not have to be who they wanted you to be. You can just be yourself. Lyra leaned against his shoulder and watched the last light fade from the sky. She thought about how far she had come, from a cold examination room on her homeworld to this warm beach on the other side of the galaxy, from a life of shame and isolation to a life of friendship and hope. It still felt like a dream sometimes, but it was real. It was all real. A year after arriving on New Busan, Yi received a video message from his grandmother. The old woman's face filled the screen, wrinkled and kind and full of love. My dear grandson, she said, I hear you have found someone special. When will you bring her to meet me? Yi looked at Lyra, who was standing nervously beside him. Grandmother, this is Lyra. Lyra, this is my grandmother. Lyra bowed respectfully. It is an honor to meet you. The old woman laughed. Such manners, Yi never had such good manners. You are teaching him well. Grandmother, Yi said, embarrassed. Do not interrupt me. I am old. I say what I want. She looked directly at Lyra through the screen. Welcome to our family, child. I have been waiting a long time for someone to love my grandson. Take good care of him. Tears formed in Lyra's eyes. She called me family, she whispered after the call ended. That is because you are family, Yi replied. That is how it works here. 2 years later, they decided to adopt their first child. His name was Yun. He was 7 years old, with dark hair and bright eyes and a laugh that filled every room. His parents had died in a shuttle accident when he was a baby. He had lived in an orphanage ever since. When they first met him, he was shy and quiet. He would not look at Lyra directly. He seemed afraid of her blue skin and dark eyes. But Lyra was patient. She had learned patience from Yi. She sat with Yun every day and read him stories. She made him special foods from her homeworld. She learned his favorite games and played them with him for hours. Slowly, bit by bit, he began to open up. He started calling Yi Dad first. A few weeks later, he called Lyra Mom for the first time. She wept so hard that Yi had to hold her for an hour. I never thought I would hear that word, she told him. I never thought anyone would call me mother. Now someone has, Yi said, and it is just the beginning. He was right. A year after adopting Yun, they received a message from Horizon Gate. A Vellani child had been found abandoned near the station. She was only 5 years old. She had been left there because she was sterile. The authorities did not know what to do with her. Among the Vellani, no one would adopt a child with such a condition. They asked if Yi and Lyra would consider taking her. Lyra did not hesitate. Yes, she said immediately, we will take her. They named her Hana. It was a Korean word that Yi had taught Lyra. It meant one or first. It seemed fitting for their first daughter. Hana was terrified when she arrived. She had been told her whole life that she was worthless. She had been abandoned by her own people. She expected the same from everyone else. But Lyra understood her in a way no one else could. She held the little girl and told her the truth. I am like you, Lyra said. I cannot have children either. People on our homeworld said I was broken, but I am not broken, Hana, and neither are you. We are exactly who we are supposed to be. Hana looked up at her with wide, uncertain eyes. Really? Really? And here on this world no one will ever tell you otherwise. Here you are loved. Here you are wanted. Here you are home. The little girl began to cry, but they were good tears, healing tears, the kind of tears that wash away years of pain. Over time, their family grew even larger. They adopted 2 more children, a human girl named Sira and a mixed-species boy named Theo. Their house became loud and chaotic and full of laughter. Lyra had spent most of her life trying to be invisible. Now she was surrounded by noise and movement and life, and she loved every moment of it. One day, many years later, a diplomatic ship arrived at New Busan. It carried a group of Velani officials who were touring human colonies. They had heard stories about the strange planet where different species lived together as families. They wanted to see it for themselves. Captain Yoon, now retired, had arranged the visit. She had never forgotten Lyra and Yi. She thought it would be good for the Velani to see what they had built. The officials toured the colony. They saw humans and aliens living side by side. They saw children of different species playing together. They saw families that made no biological sense but worked anyway. And then they saw Lyra. She was standing in her garden, surrounded by her children. Yun, now a teenager, was helping her plant flowers. Hana was reading a book on the porch. Sira was chasing Theo around the yard, both of them laughing. Yi was there too, sitting in a chair with a cup of tea, watching his family with a look of pure contentment. The Velani officials stopped and stared. One of them recognized Lyra. He had known her on the homeworld years ago. He had seen her at her lowest point when everyone had abandoned her. "How is this possible?" he asked. "How can you have a family? How can you be happy?" Lyra smiled. It was a peaceful smile, full of wisdom and warmth. "You still do not understand," she said. Her Korean had become perfect over the years. She spoke it more than her native language now. Family is not about what you can produce. It is about what you can give. Love, time, care, attention. These are the things that make a family, not biology. The official shook his head. "This goes against everything we have been taught." "Yes, and perhaps that is why we are happy and you are not." She did not say it cruelly. She said it with compassion, as if she wished he could understand. The officials left the next day. They returned to the Velani homeworld with strange stories about the human colony where barren females raised children, and no one cared about genetic worth. Most Velani dismissed the stories as lies, but some, especially the younger ones, began to wonder. They began to ask questions. They began to imagine different possibilities. And across the galaxy, the humans continued to do what they had always done. They accepted the rejected. They loved the unloved. They built families out of nothing but hope and kindness. It was not logical. It was not efficient. It made no biological sense. But it was beautiful. It was human. And for Lyra, sitting in her garden surrounded by the family she had never thought she could have, it was everything. Yi came over and sat beside her. He took her hand, as he had done 1,000 times before. "Are you happy?" he asked. Lyra looked at her children. She looked at her home. She looked at the man who had seen her when no one else would. "Yes," she said, "I am finally happy." And somewhere among the stars, in the quiet corners of the universe, other lost souls heard stories about the strange humans and their impossible families. And they began to hope that maybe, just maybe, they could find the same.